Welcome back to another alpha tutorial tips, sort of walking through the intro to EVE Online. I'm Vinsis or Sisyphus or any number of different names depending on how and where you might find me. But for now, what's most important is that we're learning about EVE Online. Now, this is immediately where we left off last time, and I just wanted to show you something just to sort of pinpoint or draw attention to something that I mentioned before. So you remember that we were making or using this civilian analyzer. I'll jump over to the game here because you care more about that than me. So if you remember previously, we were using this blueprint for the civilian data analyzer to create what you might imagine, which would be a civilian data analyzer. Now, we talked about like a 10% tax rate and then the system rate. So if you look here, we spent 20 grand on the actual, like if we went to transactions, it tells us that we bought the civilian data analyzer blueprint, and this is where we bought it, and so on and so forth. But if we look under the journal, we see that we actually spent 1,034 credits as a manufacturing job fee, and that's in here. So we'll come over here, we'll select that. And to do one, the job itself, hovering over this, as you can see, the job itself costs us 2.85%, which is 607 ISK, and then the facility tax, which is 10%, and that's 61. And it also looks like we get charged again for being an alpha. That's kind of bullshit if you ask me, but that's, I guess, where it's at. So hovering over things a lot of times gives you information. So it's good to know. So anyway, so that was the tax rate we were talking about, and as you can see, it's reflected here in your wallet. Yeah. So I think what our next step is going to be is we're just going to take our first foray into exploration, if I anticipate where the game is taking us. Actually, perhaps not, because I don't have any scanning equipment on this ship. But let's see where it takes us, and we'll just go from there and play it by ear. Much like you might if you were doing this for the first time through, which you likely are. So travel to the neighboring system.
Marker icon in the info panel to set your destination to the neighboring system.
Yeah, I'll just click on that.
Now you should select the
hit Autopilot now. As a point of fact, Autopilot
once your ship comes to a stop
is kind of interesting in that the hotkey for it, if you hover over it, is Control S. So putting yourself into Autopilot is a very dangerous thing to do, and I'll explain that in a second. And to give you a false sense of security, they give you the hotkey for save. It's not safe. Okay, so when you use Autopilot, you'll note that it took me a second or two to get into warp, and additionally you will find, let's put this out of here so we can see our sexy ship. Additionally, you will find that it drops you about 10 kilometers off of your target. So if you look and you set a destination that's 20 or 30 or 50 jumps away, and you think, God, I don't want to sit here for the hour or 2 hours it'll take and just hit warp every time, I'm just going to use Autopilot. Note that it dropped us here 18 kilometers away from the actual gate, 14 kilometers.
Stargate.
Right? So Autopilot then kicks on the burners, and we very slowly make our way towards the gate at whatever the speed our ship is capable of. And all this time that we're spending, it's called slow boating, from where we warped in to the actual destination point, we are very vulnerable. So what people will do is they will sit and hang out at a gate and look for people who are autopiloting. They know that they're on autopilot and most likely AFK, which is away from the keyboard, because they'll pop up like 15 kilometers out away from the gate, and they've got a good amount of time to attack them, lock them down, and kill them before anything happens or before they're able to get to the gate. So it's much safer to do everything when you're traveling manually. So I'll click on this and it'll warp us to the location. So in general, when you go to warp to something, like if I want to dock at this station, if I right click on it, I want to either hit dock or warp to 0 and then be hitting the dock button on the target window right as I'm coming out of warp, because it's going to put me right there. It won't often put you right at 0, which it says it will, but it will put you close enough that you're only going to have to slow boat for a very short period of time. Now, if you know that you're going into a dangerous situation and taking cargo into...
You know,
yeah,
you should consider yourself lucky,
yeah, I am
recruit.
pretty lucky. This is
Even
great.
though the Galen...
Yeah, okay.
Captain, you should now approach the
So I'm
gate.
going to approach that gate.
When you are close enough,
So going
hold
to
down
trade
the left
hubs
mouse button on
or
the
any
gate
place where there are
and
large
select
gatherings of
activate
people,
from
regardless
the
of whether
radio
it's in
menu.
high security space or high sec or not, you're putting yourself at risk. So if you load all of your, I was going to say earthly possessions, but they're not earthly possessions because you're in space. But if you load all of your possessions and your entire net worth is stuffed into your cargo bay and you go flying off to a trade station, one thing that many people do is they attack people in high security space right outside the trade station and have another ship that's sitting right there to loot your wreck. So if you have a lot of valuable items on you, you're going to want to create what's known as insta-dock or insta-undock bookmarks, and I will have a whole other video on that at a later time, because it's a little bit, it's outside of kind of what we're doing right now, and you don't need it when, you know, the total of your net worth is 100K. So don't worry about that for now, but keep it in mind as something that you'll want to learn how to do later, because it's a good practice to get into.
Warp drive active.
Yeah, so we're going to take this acceleration gate. I suspect that this is going to teach us how to analyze or hack without actually needing us to scan something down first, because as I said before, I don't have any scanning tools. But look at that, there's an info shard. Alright. Now, again, you might notice that with our overview here, we're in general. Yep, another fleet destroyed. Yep, thanks, buddy. Yeah, I see it.
You should
I'm gonna
locate
do it.
the
Give me
info
a second.
shard on your overview.
So that's really far
and
away,
approach
so I'm
it.
going to get us going there here quickly. But you notice that there are all these
Continue to
little
approach the
icons in
info
space
shard.
that aren't showing
We
up
need you to
on
be within
our
close proximity.
overview.
Remember to
So
stop your ship when you reach
these
the
are
shard.
what's known as large collidable objects, or LCOs. And if you really wanted to have them show up on your overview, which sometimes you might, you can go into into your overview settings, tab presets, and then go and find it. Large collidable object, ships or structures, and that's Ella. And she, yes, I know. Hey, that's enough. That's enough. She wants the bed, as do we all, I'm sure. So we're gonna warp on over to, or I guess very slowly travel over to this info shard, and we'll end up hacking it, but it's going to take us a little while. Continue to approach the info shard. In general, best practices for when you are hacking, or I forget what the term is for doing relic sites, but this is a data site. Generally, you're going to be doing this in a space that is either low security, null security, or in wormhole space. And there are some best practices to make yourself as safe as possible. Right now, I guess we don't need to get too much into it because I don't want to overload your system here. But check out the exploration video that I will eventually post, and we'll be going into like how to do it in wormholes, how to do it safely, and we'll get into it from there. I'm going to stop the recording here, let the dogs play a little bit, and then once we're at the shard, I'll start. Alright, we're back at it. We're closer now to our info shard, which looks like this. And I guess they don't want us to move that little blue thing, so I guess we won't. Alright, so they want us to, you want to lock target onto it. I think you have to be within, if you hover over it.
You should now activate the civilian data analyzer on the
see it.
info
Alright,
shard.
so when hacking or when analyzing, you want to set your auto repeat to off, because you only need one pulse from either the data analysis tool or the relic analysis tool. So I'm going to hit this, but just so that we can
You are
Yep.
now attempting to hack in.
All right. I'm going to close that down. So when you hover over this, you'll see that it has a range. And the Data Analyzer 1, I think, is 5,000 meters, and the Data Analyzer 2 is 6,000, I believe, if I remember correctly. And you're left looking at something like you see here, this little hacking tool. Now, you've got some information on the screen. The virus strength, and that's your virus, you're the virus, right now is 10. That's pretty weak. So as you skill up your hacking, we'll go under scanning. So right now your hacking and your archaeology skills are at 1. So for each one of those you get 10 more virus coherence, and that's virus coherence. I always thought one of these affected your strength. Maybe this is it. Access difficulty. Okay, yeah. Alright. So, just to provide a point of comparison, the civilian style or stage, the civilian quality analyzers give you 10 virus strength. And I'm going to stop this because the dogs are playing again, and you just got to work with what you got. So give me just a minute. We'll let them calm down, and we'll pick this up again after they've mellowed out. All right, let's try this again. We're going to get in here. So the civilian data analyzer, if you see here, shows a virus strength base of 10 and a virus coherence of 25. Now, we've got the Data Analyzer 1, which is the next step up, and then Data Analyzer 2, which is the next step after that. So let's look at the Data Analyzer 1. Virus strength of 20, virus coherence of 40. So consider this as your virus strength is your attack, so to speak, and your virus coherence is your health. So as you click on things, you will do the amount of damage or hacking damage as your virus strength, and when the system responds, you will take damage to your coherence. But anyway, so the civilian analyzer has a base virus strength of 10 and a virus coherence of 25. Data Analyzer 1 is substantially better with twice as much strength and almost twice as much virus coherence. Data Analyzer 2 has a base of 30 virus strength and 60 virus coherence. Now, we won't get too much into that. Like I said earlier, we're going to do a whole thing on exploration, and we'll get into kind of how to outfit your ships, what ships to use, what modules, and things to consider. So right now, though, we're going to walk through this. So this is our analyzation or our hacking window. You can see everywhere that the little orange thing is where you start, and everywhere you see these blank dots are potential spots for the server, the mainframe that you're trying to access. So you can only move from one node to an adjacent node. So I click here, and the number that shows up in the middle there shows you how many nodes away you are from either a loot of some kind, which I'll show you, or from the actual mainframe itself. So that was 4, this says 3, this probably, yep, that says 3. Now normally this would probably say 2, 1, and this is a defense system, and this is the type of thing that would do damage to me. So I will be able to do damage to it to clear it, because this thing, being where it is right now, blocks every adjacent node. So it has 20 health, as you can see on the top, and it'll do 10 damage. And I have 25 health, and I can only do 10 damage. So I'm going to have to hit this thing twice in order to clear it. And in doing so, I will reduce my own health. Your virus strength, for the most part, won't change, but there are some of these defense modules which will cut it in half, which really sucks. So while that's there, I would guess the server, the mainframe is over here being blocked by this, but just to kind of show us more examples, we're 4 away, now we're 5. It'll only go as high as 5. 4, 3, okay. So when I click on this once, see how my health or my coherence goes down by 10? I click on it again. Boom. Now we're 1 away. Because this is 2, that was 2, and this was 1. We know that that's the mainframe, and this is what it's looking at. So I am actually not going to be able to... Well, maybe I am. So see how it drops me to 5? If your final move to clear a node
Now you have
would
successfully hacked into the info
do
shard.
you
should
damage enough to
retrieve the
kill
cargo.
you, you'll be fine, because it basically allows you to do your attack before their attack is registered. So it's kind of complicated, but the more you get into it and the more you do it, the easier it will be. So once you've cleared out the mainframe like we just did, you can loot it much like you would a canister. And then I just hit the loot all button, and we're ready to go.
In the name of... The site just lit up like Crystal Boulevard. Professor Tanner, have you ever seen anything like this? Is this your tech?
No, Fleet Commander. I have never seen anything like this before.
Yeah,
I suggest the captain get out of there as fast as possible.
I don't know.
No question about that, Professor. Recruit, our tripwire sensor net just picked up a...
Yeah, we're kind of done here.
Click
Alright,
the
travel to
location
the safe
marker
spot.
icon
So,
in the info panel
again,
to
this is a
travel
little
to a safe
convoluted.
spot.
The whole hacking minigame and analyzing minigame, it's identical between hacking and analyzing, but check out the video. We'll do a walkthrough of just how to do it and how to make more sense of it. There are different strategies and ways to go about it, things to know, but I'll walk you through that there if that's something that you want to get into. Exploration, which is hacking and analyzing after scanning down sites, is actually a good way to make money,
Recruit,
especially as an alpha.
If
So
I hadn't seen you
it may be
pull
something
off
that
some
you can
impressive
consider as
stunts
a career
already,
path,
I'd
so to
suspect
speak.
you of being some kind of double agent.
Oh wow!
What you've uncovered here is a feast of intelligence. The data that you just extracted looks like it includes key codes to activate the jump gate to the Drifter Hive's
They
location.
really put a lot of
If you
story
can
into this. All right, sorry, buddy. Travel to the site.
Click on the location
They really
marker
dumbed this
icon
down.
in the
Previously,
info
they just
drive
kind of
to
kick you out
travel
of the
to
station with
forward
a scanner
operating
and a couple
base.
analyzers and be like, "Hey, good luck." But I'm glad that they didn't. They've changed the way they do that. There's our ship. Still looking good. And now you'll note that they sent us to a quote-unquote safe spot. Now, of course, they picked the safe spot. They had it all mapped out for you. But this is also good practice when you're surprised and you're doing something.
Approach the gate. When you are close, use the radial menu to activate the gate to enter the forward operating base.
Oh, I'm doing it. We're doing it.
Warp drive
All right.
active.
So you can activate acceleration gates, I believe, if you're under 2,500 or 2,000 meters. But we lined up with it. We used it in the way that they asked us to because we're agreeable like that. And looks like it took us to a station. An Astra Hus. Oh, he's got a lot to say.
Behold, a swift spearhead of the Galente Federation. Our fleet. The strike force that will take the fight
look
to
at
the
that
drifters. Dreadnoughts, battleships, cruisers, and frigates are
Yeah.
all being prepared for action at our Ostrahus Citadel
ships,
forward operating base.
Cruisers.
All soon to be equipped with the gate key codes
all-
you recovered, which
like
will
all-
land
mostly
our fleet
battleships.
in their front yard.
All right.
Recruit, I don't usually do this, but it's going to take a few minutes to upload.
All right. We're supposed to take a closer look.
Now fly over and join the battleship group on parade in front of the Citadel.
All right. Now this should give us a sense of scope. I kind of wish I could remove these little squares, and I'm sure there's a way to do it, but off the top of my head, I don't know. So let's move this a little bit faster. Oh, they're on parade. I see. It's very nationalistic.
Hey, recruits. Our crew's been talking about you non-stop today.
All right, Fleet. Calm down.
Yeah, there they go. Alright, we're supposed to travel to the
When you are
forward
ready,
point.
fly to the forward point,
So we can either
next to the
right-click on it
Dreadnought-class
here.
vessel.
Or... yeah, we'll approach that. Now you'll see me sort of bounce off some of these ships because they are collidable. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, there's the Dreadnought. I mean, that is a big ship. Alright, I'm going to try to navigate around these things manually. But I'm going to fly myself up and out of the way. And then I'll redirect myself. It's a pretty impressive space station. I know it's not technically a station, it's a citadel, I believe, but it's kind of neat. Normally there aren't these little blue windows that block everything and tell you explicitly where to go and what to do. Obviously because it's a because it's their form of a tutorial. Yeah,
All right.
There we go. Sure. Travel to the HQ.
When you are ready
Set
to
the
return
destination. Activate autopilot
to now
by
turn your
not so safely.
when you
using
reach your
Control
destination and the autopilot switches off,
Camera is not lost
click
on me.
on the
And you can see that
location
because we
icon
set a
in
destination,
infrared drive
our
to
next
operate
jump is
HQ.
highlighted in yellow on the overview. I don't know if we ever mentioned that, but it's a handy thing. So I can highlight that and click that button, or use the button D, since that's the hotkey for it. But there we are. That was a very, very brief look at well, I guess we didn't do any scanning, but of at least hacking. I'm sorry there wasn't more of it, and I'm sorry that was a little bit less than, I guess, fully explanatory. But it's just a first glimpse. You'll get into it more, and I'll have other videos sort of detailing how to do it and the best way to go about it.
Approaching Stargate.
And once you get into exploration, check out those videos, and we'll go through it together. But in the meantime, I think I'm going to end this video here, try to figure out what's next on the docket, and then we'll go from there. Alright, so thanks for tuning in. If you like watching me play the game and you want to support the stream, or you want to play the game yourself, by all means, head down to the description of the video. You can either buy a copy through the links there, or you can open up an alpha account and get, you know, I guess a 250,000 skill points in addition if you use the link that's in the description down there. But either way, thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, please let me know, and we'll get them answered in a video, or at very least in a comment. Alright, thanks again, and I'll see you next time.